A trip up to Massachusetts over the weekend, and we got some extra parts for the Reliant build. Some stuff I may not need, obviously, but you know, picked up as kind of something of a package deal, so it's well worth it. Got a brand new torque converter, a rebuilt turbo 413 auto. I think for right now, I'm not gonna keep it automatic. I think with the T3 conversion, I think we're gonna go with the 568 with the 5-speed in there. It'll go together a little quicker for me, and I won't have to worry about rigging up a some sort of a trigger wheel for the crank sensor on the auto, since there's no provision for it, obviously, because you don't have a flywheel on the automatic. I think that'll be good to hold on to for the future, because maybe if we do start getting it to the track and you know, it's doing pretty good and we want something more consistent, we always have the turbo automatic there to work with down the road. But for right now, it's going to be quicker and easier to go with the 568, and I think it'll be a little bit more fun on the street too. So we have wiring harness, complete T3 wiring harness. We have a fresh built torque converter for that 413 for when that day comes. I already had one of these T3 heads. Got an extra T3 head complete. Just need cleaning up, and obviously it's in the machine shop, make sure they get surfaced and what other maintenance they would possibly need. An extra T3 short block, 160,000 on it, but known to be running in good condition when it was pulled, so that's good for spare parts or an eventual rebuild. Back there is a 568 large spline. Here's another 568 large spline. This one I believe is out of a 92, so it's got the deeper first gear, so we'll probably go with the 91. I don't think we need a deeper first gear in the K car. Probably gonna weigh about 2,300 pounds, so it's significantly lighter than the Spirit RT it would have came out of. A couple of intakes, a couple of T3 computers that are stock, and a fresh set of valve covers and an intake that have been powder coated wrinkle black, which is what my intentions were anyway. So since these were already done, it was quicker and cheaper and easier to do it like that. There's the pistons, connecting rods. I got the block right here under the bag on the stand already. ARP head studs, Cometic head gasket, new timing belt, blah 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 blah, some hardware, everything else. So if anybody remembers from the last video that I did on the Reliant like a year ago, we had pulled apart the used T3 engine that I'd gotten from a parts vehicle that my nephew had, and aside from having a destroyed connecting rod, there was also like significant damage on the journal of the number 4 journal of the crank. Well, I ran into the machine shop and they basically said probably more trouble than it's worth, and they figured even if it could be repaired, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of probably $300 to $400 to repair it. I didn't pay much more than that for this entire engine. So this is in fact the T3 forged crank. Nothing fancy on the connecting rods, stock T3 rods, stock T3 pistons, stock T3 engine block, but everything's freshly machined, fresh bearings, fresh, you know, everything's to good tolerances. So, but yeah, that's where we're at. All right, take two on getting this assembled. We already got the crank in there, which I think you've already seen. But I had started recording getting the pistons in the rings using one of these god-awful, as everybody knows, piston ring compressors that are basically just an easy way to slice the shit out of your hand. So did not work out so well. I've used them in the past a couple times where they were, I guess you could say, successful, meaning that it went in, but it was better than nothing. This time I wasn't so lucky. 3 of the 4 went in decently well, and then one of them got caught and destroyed. So I spent the money, got one of these, the preferred method that I like anyway is like a tapered actual piston ring compressor specific to the size of the piston that we're using here, 3.44 inches. So take 2. Let's get this part done. Okay, pistons are in. We're gonna spin this over and put the rod bearing caps on, but while we already have it in this direction, I'm gonna throw the ARP head studs on it, which those who are already familiar with like working on 2.2 Chrysler engines know that, as it happens to be, they don't really make one specifically for the 2.2, but for the Acura, that's the part number. It happens to be exactly what we need in this application for a T3.